All right, hope you were with us the last couple of hours when we showed live coverage of the Joint Economic Committee hearing testimony from Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner on the plans for regulatory reform on the financial services industry. The resentment against the Secretary was on display during the testimony with calls for him to resign as he testified before that committee. Watch.
I disagree with Mr. Brady. I have the greatest respect for him. I don't think that you should be fired. I thought you should have never been hired.
And in fact, Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas joins us now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Great. Good to be with you guys.
We're going to assume that that was more than just political rhetoric on your part. What's your beef with Tim Geithner?
Well, it's interesting. Kevin Brady said he should be a sell. We never should have bought. Yeah, you recall right before his confirmation hearing, and I was outspoken about this at the time, not many people paid attention, but the troubles he'd had that had come to light filling out tax forms, is this really the person that you want as the head of the IRS?
Again, what is your specific beef with him if he's not the guy you want in that position? Why?
Well, tell me, wasn't anyone else we could have found for Secretary of the Treasury, but someone who had that difficulty? But it's still
his tax issues? Your issue is that the issue about him paying his taxes?
Well, and then since then, what have we had? Inspector General Borofsky, who's come to us on several occasions and said, these are the problems we're having with TARP. It's hard to get the oversight. Please don't put me under the control of the Secretary of the Treasury. I need to be independent. Now,
is the economy in worse shape than it was a year ago? I'm not trying to be partisan here, but if we measure, as he suggested, Secretary Geithner suggested, you measure the progress of the administration's economic policies by the growth of the economy, and the economy is growing again. Is that a problem?
Well, the economy is growing, but as we've all seen and heard, the jobless rate at 10.2%, and those people that have just given up is at 17.5%, 25-year highs, highest in a couple of decades. You do have to ask yourself if we're, is it okay that Goldman Sachs has recovered in this economy, but not the average American?
Actually, some people would argue that it's really good that at least we have the start of a recovery on Wall Street to then loan money to all the other businesses that want to start recovering themselves. What moves should Treasury Secretary have taken that he hasn't taken?
I would have loved to have heard the Secretary come out forcefully and say that he was going to allow the TARP program to expire as it is supposed to by law the 31st of December.
Isn't he
evasive on that? There is a second clause in the bill that says it can be extended, and the fact that he wouldn't answer that question affirmatively leads me to believe that his intention is to keep the program going.
But, sir, would your criticism better be directed at President Obama? Isn't the Treasury Secretary merely carrying out the policy that his boss has instructed him to carry out?
If the president would be willing to come to the Joint Economic Committee, I would be glad to relay that information to him as well.
What do you think of the regulatory reforms that they are talking about in the House and the Senate? As you well know, there's a disagreement on whether it should be a single body or a collection of the committees that exist right now overseeing the financial services industry. Which side do you come down on?
Right. Well, the bulk of this work is being done in a committee on which I do not sit. We've had a small amount in the Energy and Commerce Committee where I am. I will say this: what I hear from my folks at home, the community bankers, the small bankers, they are nervous about what Congress is fixing to do to them in this new regulatory regime. They feel like they were never the problem in the first place. It was the big guys, and yet they are the ones who are being required to bear the brunt of this new regulatory reform, whether it be in the FDIC insurance that they've had to pay in order to cover the losses in the money market accounts last fall, or whether it is the new regulations that are coming down the pipe that are going to cost them. It's going to cost them money and investment to comply.
Okay, and one last question for you, Congressman. You certainly wouldn't have raised this ruckus today unless you had someone in mind who'd do a better job. So who should be replacing Treasury Secretary Geithner in your view, sir?
Well, my job is to represent the constituents of my district. Obviously, the Secretary of the Treasury serves at the pleasure of the President. I think it says a great deal about the President that he didn't withdraw the nomination when the difficulty surfaced last year. I've got people in my district who have a tough time paying their taxes. I've had people in my district come to me who got in trouble for not paying part of their taxes.
Okay, but who else would you like to take that chair?
And we give this guy a pass at the very beginning. It makes no sense. it's not my job to pick the Secretary of the Treasury, but you can't tell me that there was not some other qualified person who could have done that.
Look a little backward here, it seems like, but okay, thanks a lot. We appreciate you being here, sir.
Burgess,
Let's get to Bob Pisani at the New York Stock Exchange, guys.